Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. I'm Sarah Martin with The Contoured Chemist. So today is another requested video. I don't know why it took me so long to do it, but this is all about how to apply your makeup for photography. So I know spring is right around the corner, and that means spring family photos and weddings and all the things. And obviously this doesn't only translate to how you can do your makeup for pictures, but for every day. So I'm gonna go ahead and do a get ready with me and talk you through the process and explain why we do things and don't do things when it comes to applying our makeup for photos. So if you wanna check it out, keep watching. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button if you wanna see more from me. And thanks for being here. Love you. All right, friends. So let's go ahead and get started and talk about makeup application for photography. So I have been requested to do this video and I don't know why I forgot about it. So here we go. I'm gonna go ahead and just get ready. You can come get ready with me and I'm gonna go over every little detail. I think I have like 6 main takeaways when you're doing your makeup, especially if you're doing it for flash photography. Okay, so obviously I'm using only mascara, well not only, but mainly mascaras, 3D foundation, and eyeshadows in order to get this look. And first of all, we're gonna talk about the number one rule. I don't like to say rule, but the number one most important thing when you are doing your makeup for photography, and that is apply your makeup in natural light. So huge. So especially if you are taking your pictures outside, you know you're gonna be under natural light, or if you're under studio lights and you're not used to that, it is like white light, daylight is what is mimicked by studio lighting. So I have studio lights, that's why I can do my makeup in this space and I can walk outside and everything looks true to color. But if you're going in your bathroom and you're doing your makeup under what most people have is soft light, which actually gives a yellow to orange cast over your face. You might go outside and realize, oh my gosh, my face isn't matching my neck, or I look super yellow, or I look super washed out, and it's not gonna translate the same way to photos because obviously the camera is gonna pick up what it looks like in natural lighting or studio lighting, whatever it is. Makes the biggest difference. I even see this with everyday normal makeup where people are like, my face looks different when I go out in my car. Well, that's because that's natural light. So I recommend either just getting ready in front of a window, or you can even do what I did and change your bathroom lights for daylight bulbs. So your husband might not like it, like mine did. He was like, I don't like to see what I really look like, but it makes the biggest difference. And then you get used to it. And then you're like, oh my gosh, okay, now I actually can see what I look like on a day-to-day basis. So that is number one, apply in natural light. So first of all, we're gonna go over priming the face, all right? So obviously cameras, really good professional photography cameras, they are going to really show your skin's natural texture, okay? They're good cameras. So you definitely want to moisturize and prime your face so you get the best canvas possible. I don't recommend exfoliating or anything harsh or irritating to your skin the day of. Make sure you're doing all that skincare stuff multiple days ahead of time so your skin is ready for that big photography day. And then moisturize that morning so you don't have any dry, flaky skin. No makeup looks good over that. And then you want to prime your face. So if you normally are a Stay Spray priming girl like me, make sure you're picking up the non-SPF version to prime. So I also, if I know I'm having flash photography done, I will make sure I'm not applying my SPF unless you use one like I do, like the Elta MD, that uses a clear titanium dioxide. So not all SPFs are the same. A lot of sunblock, if it goes on white, it probably is just got normal titanium dioxide, which is the physical blocker that protects you from the rays. Well, that can create what we call flashback. So when the flash goes off, it actually will reflect off of that SPF on your skin, and it gives you a ghost-like appearance. I'm sure you've seen pictures like this before where their face just looks blown out and white. Oh, you do not want that for photography. That's kind of the ultimate what we want to avoid. So to be safe, you can go one day with no SPF. No SPF, not even the Stay Spray with SPF. I would recommend just using the non-SPF. Let's avoid all the dreaded flashback photography, okay? So I'm not even gonna use the Stay Spray to prime, even though that's non-SPF. I am gonna use the e.l.f. mattifying balm, okay? So number 2 with makeup for photography is you want to think matte, okay? So obviously if you're using a flash or even direct sunlight, natural lighting, anything shimmery or shiny, it's gonna be picked up by that camera and it's gonna reflect more light, and it's gonna be a lot more harsh with a professional camera. So when I'm doing my makeup for flash photography, I'm really gonna think matte. So you'll see as I go through all of these things, we're gonna be sticking with the mattes, and there's only a few times you wanna use anything shimmery, okay? So when it comes to the face, I don't want a super dewy look. I want a matte look. It's gonna look best for the camera, I promise you that. So I'm just gonna use a little bit about, like anywhere I'm shiny. So I have normal skin, but I tend to get a little bit shinier in my T-zone. You can kind of see on my forehead. Okay, and normally I rock the dewy, glowy look. It's my fave. But when I'm gonna have pictures taken, I promise it looks so much better on camera than the super dewy look. And especially if you're doing your makeup and are having to wait a few hours before you get pictures taken, you don't want to be shiny by the time you actually are getting your pictures taken. So that's just gonna help kind of fill in my pores. If you have a lot of pores, you might use a different like pore filling primer, because obviously that's gonna increase the texture in your skin and it's gonna translate to camera. So prime the eye, or next is prime the eyes. So if you are normally not priming your eyes on a daily basis, now is the time to. Okay, for one, it's gonna give you a much better base. You're gonna get your eyeshadow to last longer without creasing, okay? You don't wanna get your pictures taken and then get them back and see that your eyeshadow is creased. That would be such a bummer. So that, and it gives better color payoff. And that brings me to my next point, is that flash photography is going to wash out all your makeup. It just typically dyes down colors, it tones them down. And so everything we're doing today is gonna be like amped up 2 to 3 notches, okay? Okay, so I'm still like priming my face. The next thing I'm going to do is apply a lip conditioner. Okay, so again, dry flaky skin, not pretty on camera. You want your lips to be moisturized and plump and full. So I'm gonna use a little bit of my City Lips lip plumper over that. This one can be really intense. So it says to use it to clean dry lips, but my lips turn super red if I do that. So I put my lip conditioner down, make sure I'm good and moisturized, and then I'll put this on for a little bit of plumping action. And okay, now my face is primed, ready to go, and I'm gonna go ahead and start with makeup. Okay, so when it comes to choosing your foundation, you obviously wanna avoid foundation with SPF. So a lot of foundations have it built in. Maskcara Beauty's cream foundations do not have SPF, specifically because she wanted it to work well for photography. And if you've ever applied mascara and taken pictures, you know how gorgeous it translates, because it looks like skin, it doesn't look cakey, it looks natural, and it's just, I've never used another foundation that looks as good on camera as mascara. So there is a few things you want to avoid. And that is looking too shiny and dewy because, as you know, our creams will give a more dewy finish, but you can easily use a little setting powder and make sure no areas are getting too shiny. And then another thing is looking cakey. So I'll get into that as well. And you don't ever want to make sure you're not matching. So a lot of people have necks that are lighter or darker, and that's really going to translate on camera if you don't look like you're matching well, or you have like demarcation lines where your face is darker than your neck. So I usually apply with the Buffy, but I'm not even gonna apply with that today because we want not heavy foundation, okay? So when I'm looking to keep a light hand, I will pick up my B² brush and then I'm gonna apply in the same way I normally do, but that way I know it's not going to pull me too dark or anything on camera. So I'm just gonna use a little bit of Mango. Mango is my color correcting highlight. Okay, and I'm just gonna press it on. Let's just press it on where I usually apply it. So my mask area is my darkest. So my nose is darker. I've got a little bit of redness here, and then across my cheeks on both sides, and then my chin, okay? And so sometimes I just like to take a little bit of my brush, put it on my face, and let it kind of naturally warm up, and it's gonna blend a lot better. So one of the other things that I really want you to look out for when it comes to pictures is making sure you are blended. So blend, blend, blend is key, because if you don't get all your harsh lines blended, it's going to be a lot more obvious on camera than it would be in real life. Excuse me, that was my dog. So I'm going to go ahead and buff that in so you can tell it's not even changing my color at all. It is just a super light layer to get rid of any of that redness. And then you can see how purple I am around my eyes. It's ridiculous. So this is going to color correct that. I like to use my finger and tap in and then just get a nice light layer and kind of use the warmth of my finger to press that in and smooth it out so I have good, adequate coverage, because anything dark is going to also translate on camera. We don't want to look tired in our beautiful photos, right? So I always kind of put a little bit extra right there, and then I'm going to pick up a smaller brush so I can reach my eyelids to even out all that purple. Now, if you have any areas that you need more coverage on, this is where you can pick up a brush and press it on more. I like to use my finger for my hyperpigmentation, and then sometimes I'll use a little bit extra around my nose where I have more redness, and this is where I press on extra coverage. Okay, so I'm gonna pick up the B² again, so the blush end, and now I'm gonna go in with my main shade, okay? And then I'm just gonna do that again where I'm just pressing all over the skin and let it warm up slightly because I want the best blend possible. Okay, now I'm gonna start pressing, and I'm not buffing to move around the product. I'm simply pressing and moving that around. Gosh, my hair is just right in the way today, in order to get better coverage. And I feel like I need more down here, and you can simply just add a little bit more wherever you feel like you're not getting the coverage you want. Okay, so this is gonna build up to about a medium coverage, and if you need more full coverage, go back in and press on more anywhere you need it. In pictures, you don't want it to look like you're wearing a mask, but you also want to make sure you're getting good coverage because you don't want to see things that you don't want to see, you know? Okay, so this color is toning down that kind of too warm for me shade of my color corrector and kind of just giving me a nice even base. I'm going to use a little bit more on my eyelids to get them back to matching. Okay, there you go. So now I'm matching my neck. That is key. If you're not matching your neck, that's fine too. You can always use your accent brightener to bring in those lighter tones and kind of tie in that neck. Or another way that I think is even easier is using a little bit of Bella bronzer down the neck to kind of warm that up and keep everything matching that way. So next we're going to contour. So one of my takeaways as well is make sure you are amping up your features. This is why highlighting and contouring is so amazing in photography, because if you take a picture of me right now, my face looks flat. It looks one color. I have no dimension, and all of that kind of tones down with photography. So you need to like carve out your features even more so than on a normal basis, because you're going to be able to tell when you do that in a photo. Okay, so it's contour time. I'm going to use Astoria. I recommend not using one that's too warm if you're also going to be utilizing a bronzer to kind of warm up your skin. So I normally will tell people, if they are lovers of bronzer, to make sure you're using a more cool toned contour so it mimics a shadow more and it doesn't pull that area too warm and give you overall too warm of a look. Because you also don't want to get your pictures back and be like, I look orange. That's no fun. Okay, so I'm gonna use the detail, and this is Astoria contour. Okay, and then first of all, we're gonna lift those cheekbones. So I'm just gonna press right and kind of cup that cheekbone. Okay, and I'm just pressing, I'm stopping about the corner of my eye, and I'm going towards the corner of my mouth. Okay, and then I'm gonna kind of lift my brush and keep pressing, or you can simply start buffing upwards. Just never pull down. We do not want to drag our face down in photos. We want to lift. Okay, and obviously I need better blending, because that right there would look super harsh in pictures. Can you see that? Okay, so what was one of my things? Blend, blend, blend. I'm going to take that brush. I'm just gonna press, okay? It's got a little bit of left out over highlight, but really it's mainly just blurring that edge with the brush, okay? Now, if you like a super dramatic contour, you can even use a little bit more highlight there, or you can press over that area to blur it out even more so it looks, you want it to look natural, yet where you can see it, okay? So that way in photos, you're not looking flat. So this is why it's important about 3 days prior, maybe even 2 days, depends on how gentle your exfoliator is. Make sure you're exfoliating really well, because it is so hard to blend contour if you don't have a very nicely exfoliated face. Okay, so that was Astoria. For me in photos, sometimes I feel like my forehead is not framed as much. So I like to go darker on my forehead when I'm actually really care what my contour looks like. So I'm gonna use indigo. So you'll see it's actually only one shade darker in our contours, but it pulls so much darker on my forehead than anywhere else, and I don't know why. So I'm just gonna apply it around my hairline, And then I'm gonna apply it all the way down to my temple to kind of narrow my head, and then a little bit farther on my forehead to shorten my forehead. You can really play with shadows and really see results when you are taking photos. This is why we contour, right? We want to just emphasize our best features, and you can use a little bit of shadows and light to minimize what we might not love, like our 4 or 5 finger foreheads. Okay, so see how much like more shadow that gives me with that darker shade? Gosh, I love that color. Okay, I'm gonna go back to Astoria for my jawline. This is important for me in photos because I wanna make sure everything looks like it matches really well. And I feel like just that extra right there, I don't know, it just helps me. When I forget, I notice a difference. Pull it down the neck to blend. Okay, and then when it comes to nose contouring, I feel like it makes the biggest difference for pictures, but if you don't feel confident about it, really practice it first, because you don't want to get a photo back and see a stripe down your nose. Another thing is, don't even attempt to use warm contours on your nose like indigo or olive. It will pull red, and you'll really be able to see that warmth in photos as well. So I like to use Astoria because I already got it in my palette, but Shadow is a contour that's specifically designed for nose contours. So if you feel like you pull red at all, try that baby out. So I'm just gonna use this and draw that line, kind of going from the tip of my nose, right on the bridge of my nose where my nose starts curving downward, all the way up to my brow, and then you can flip it over and use this small end to kind of pull that line down, okay? And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, and you really want these close together, but not touching, because you're gonna put highlight right in between. And then you want to darken the end of your nose if you're like me and you want your nose to look shorter. Okay, so those are my stripes. We will blend them really well, I promise. Okay, so we have fully contoured, and next I like to brighten. And here is where if you apply too much brightener, you can end up getting creasing or caking, and that we definitely want to avoid. We want to avoid emphasizing those fine lines. And we really want to highlight the center of the face, because in photos, this is what's gonna pop your eyes and looks incredibly gorgeous next to the contour. So I like to pick up my Buffy, and I use the small end, and I am gonna show you how little product I actually use. So I tap one time, that's it. And then I'm gonna go right into that inner corner, okay? And I'm gonna start by pressing, and I'm gonna press over under the eye. Okay, now if you have more mature skin and you don't want to apply it right here, you wanna go more down instead of over. You wanna go down and then make your triangle smaller. Okay, so I'm gonna then take another dab, and I'm gonna go down the side of the nose all the way up to that contour line, and then down to the nostril, and then I'm gonna fill in by just pressing. Okay, so I took about 2 taps into my cream for all that. Now this is too much product. Like, it's too much. It's gonna look makeup-y, but I'm gonna perfect it, and then it will be fine. So one more. I'm gonna take this all the way under. Okay. Now some people might think, oh, I'm just gonna go brighter, but you don't want so much contrast where it looks unnatural in photos. And remember, the lighter you go with your brightener, the more it's going to emphasize texture. It doesn't matter what you're layering it over. If I was to apply, say, linen all the way under my eye, close up, you're going to really notice it a whole lot more than Aura, which is only technically one shade lighter, but it makes a huge difference. Okay, so just remember that. So really just keep pressing until you feel like you're really good and blended. Okay, then I'm going to take one more tap to my forehead. Okay, and that's a lot of product. Do you see how it's just sitting in my pores? Okay, I'm going to take the excess to my chin and kind of press that around. And right here on my Cupid's bow to brighten that. And I'm going to press. And then I'm going to go back up here. And in fact, I'm going to switch back over to my big one. And I'm just going to press in order to kind of distribute that in an upside down triangle. So the center of my face is like a diamond, okay? So that is gonna be light and bright under my eyes all the way down to my chin. And then you can take whatever brush you prefer, whatever brush you can get the straightest line. Sometimes I use my finger. I'm gonna use the end of the blend and tap. In fact, this is one of my favorite brushes to nose contour. But I'm just gonna take, and I'm gonna go right down the center of my nose, all the way up and kind of distribute it between my brows and connect with that triangle. Okay, and that is how you get perfect nose contour. And then I'm gonna go in, I forgot to do under my lips. So in pictures, we want our lips to look bigger, right? So I forgot, I'm gonna contour a little bit under my lip. It's a great way of playing with shadows. Key is make sure you blend it well or it'll look like you got a mustache going on down there. Don't want that. So just utilize that perfector. So it is perfector time. So if you haven't heard me harp on and on about how amazing our perfector is, here she is. And now this baby has been ran underwater. I've squeezed it within an inch of its life to get absolutely every drop possible out of it. Then I put it in a, what is that? More like muslin, like tea towel that is super absorbent. Squeezed it numerous times. And then I've let it sit here while I put my makeup on to this point. So it is like, it feels almost like it's drying out, but it still feels cold. As long as it still feels cold, you're golden. And this is like the perfect consistency for blending out all of the lines. Now, when you're doing your makeup for photos, use this bad boy everywhere, not just under your eyes where you're trying to remove excess, but really press it, and you're just pressing it, okay? You're not rubbing, anything like that. You're simply pressing, and I'm gonna press all over the skin. Okay, so I can still see contour lines there. Okay, key is look from the side. If you can still see a stripe, blend more. Sometimes I like to even just use my fingers as well. Okay, but I am just going to press this all over the skin. Now, this is a problem area for me, collecting right there. So I'm really going to utilize my perfector there as well to make sure that doesn't show in photos as well. So I'm really going to do that over my contour lines so my contours don't look harsh. They look natural. They're fading. They're blurring as they go upward. That's what we want. Don't be afraid to just move this thing around and really utilize it till it's like, feels like it's all dried out. That's what I do. That's how I get the best finishes, or when I really take my time with this perfector, I notice the biggest difference. Okay, so now that we perfected, this is when I go back and I look at my face and I get a little pickier than I do on a normal basis. So here's where I'm gonna take my multitasker and I'm going to see if I need more coverage, because obviously this is going to remove excess. So sometimes you have certain spots that kind of stand out and you're like, okay, I'd like to conceal that a little better. Like I got one on my forehead right here, and I'm gonna use a little bit of mango. And when you're doing that, you really wanna just pinpoint, okay? Pinpoint, and then it literally will, you can sometimes use your finger sometimes, or just the brush to kind of go around it. And I'm just gonna kind of pinpoint anywhere I want a little bit extra coverage, because I am not going to perfect again. So it's not gonna come off a second time. And then I'm probably going to use a little bit more of my color corrector there, and then put a little bit more of my main shade. And then I kind of just barely perfect to make sure I don't have excess, but it gives me much better coverage. So you guys know me, after I perfect the face, I always like to make sure I'm setting that in place under my eyes so I'm not getting creasing. So I'm gonna go ahead and use our vanilla dust like I always do, because that is my ride or die under the eye setting powder. I know I'm not gonna get creasing. I know I'm not gonna get cakiness no matter what I do. So I'm just going to lightly touch the powder and go ahead and just do the under eye, okay? Because I still have some other creams to add. So I'm just gonna do the under eye and make sure that that's not gonna crease while I'm finishing my face. And then I swipe in, get a lot more, and I do my lids because those were already starting to crease on me, okay? And then this is gonna give me a good base for my eyeshadow. Okay, there we go. Now I'm going to hit Bella bronzer. So obviously, flash photography, if it tones down color, it's gonna tone down your natural color as well, and that includes your warmth. So I love our Bella bronzer because it's a cream. It's not going to make you look dry. It's gonna give you that natural glow that's going to translate to camera. And I mean, you wanna use a matte bronzer. I definitely would recommend, you know, obviously we're staying matte, theme is matte. Any kind of shimmery bronzer, so you guys know I normally like to mix this with Glow Illuminator. Do not do that for photos. Stick to this one alone, it is matte. And then I like to simply just kind of press around my eye, avoiding where we just brightened. And I'm just warming up the face slightly. I know it's hard to tell on me because I'm pretty warm in general because I self-tan on a daily basis. So it does add color, especially if you are a few days out from when you self-tanned. This baby's key. So a little bit on the nose, chin. Pretty much you want to hit the high points of your face. I just usually avoid this area since I brightened already. But if you like to apply your bronzer first, you can go forehead, cheeks, nose, chin, and then you can brighten. It's just a matter of personal preference. Here's where I take it down the neck, always, because I always want to make sure I am matching, and I like to kind of even myself out right there. And I'm golden. Bella is a must for photography. If you are used to a powder bronzer, you're gonna be amazed at how much better your skin looks with a cream. So much easier. No cakiness. So we're avoiding cakiness, avoiding shimmer, thinking matte. Okay, so next is blush. I am such a advocate for blush, okay? I don't even like recommend you contour unless you're gonna use blush. I know I get so many color matches and people are like, no to blush. And I'm like, you've gotta add blush. You gotta add that natural flush to your face, especially with like our like yellow, they kind of cancel out redness. If you have a natural flush there, it's going to go away once you add a foundation. And then when you add that contour, it doesn't look finished. It just looks unfinished. So you add that flush to your cheeks, you connect it with the contour, and then the contour looks more natural, and oh my gosh, it's just the perfect combo. So when it comes to blush, again, colors are gonna be muted. So you want to think what is gonna give you a natural flush, and you also wanna stick with mattes, okay? You don't want a lot of extra shimmer in here that's gonna reflect light, and it's gonna increase the look of any texture on your skin as well. So I always will think a little bit darker than I'd normally go as well, because it's gonna tone down. So I picked Plum. So on a daily basis, nude is my go-to. But if you can pick anything for your cheeks, but I like a little bit of a cool tone, and this one's a little bit darker than nude. So you guys know me, I usually am not super heavy-handed with blush, but for photos, you want to be, okay? So you want to add a little bit more than extra. So I got a little bit on my brush. The key is building up color gradually. So I'm going to smile, go to the outside apples of my cheeks, okay? And then I'm going to press, and I'm going to press around the apple and up along my contour so that they're connected, okay? You never want a gap in between the two. Okay, so me, I'd probably stop right there because I like a natural flush, but I don't want too much. So you're gonna have to bear with me because I have to gradually build to more colors. So all of our lip and cheeks kind of tone down after 5 minutes anyway. So sometimes I will add a little bit heavier, and then I will finish my face, and then we will see if we need more. Key is also getting them even. Sometimes it's hard to do. So I'm gonna go ahead and use my perfector just kind of around the edges because you don't want any harsh lines. Again, blend, blend, blend is key. Okay. And then I think I'm gonna just put a little bit more on because this is gonna die down in a minute. So, and obviously the more you have on, the more you have to worry about blending. So we want it to look natural. We want it to look like a natural flush, but we want to be able to see your cheeks, and you want your cheeks to pop. Because when you look at yourself in the mirror after you apply your makeup, before a photography session, you're going to be like, this is too much makeup. That is normal. That is okay. Go look in natural light. And another tip is to take a picture. Obviously, if you're gonna get your picture taken, go take your picture and see what it looks like on camera. It's one of my biggest things is trial run. Don't do your makeup for the very first time this way before a big photo shoot on the morning of. I don't know about you guys, but I'm always super stressed when I'm getting family pictures taken. Like getting myself ready and all of my kids is always a nightmare. And you're always stressed being like, are they gonna smile? Are they gonna behave? Are they gonna sit there and get their picture taken for an hour? Usually no. So trial runs are so much better. You'll already have your makeup down. You'll already know that's gonna look good in pictures, and take a simple picture in natural light before you go, and you can easily judge and be like, okay, I need more blush, or I need more eyeshadow, or I need a darker lipstick. Trial runs, especially if it's like something major like a wedding. So now that we got our lip and cheek on and our skin looks flawless, it's time to set it all in place. So you guys know me, I'm normally not a powder girl. I only usually set under my eyes, but when it comes to photography, it just looks better. It's gonna last longer, and it's gonna look better in photos, okay? So the keys with powders, for one, you wanna avoid mineral powders, okay? Anything that's going to reflect light. HD powders, a lot of them make you give that ghost-like, chalky. You don't want too heavy of a powder that's gonna end up looking cakey. You wanna think a really finely milled powder, something light, something that's either translucent or yellow based, because yellow will be brightening and it's not gonna flash back. So you really want to test your powder with flash photography before you're gonna wear it for the big day. So one of them that I like, it's kind of a pricey powder, but if you're saving it for a special occasion, the Charlotte Tilbury. This is the Airbrush Flawless Finish. I love this because this is one of the finest powders I've ever tried. It gives such a flawless finish, and it's just a really good powder. So usually I would recommend pressing on a powder like this. So sometimes I'll just use my perfector and kind of sweep into it. And then I'm just gonna press where I've highlighted. Okay, one of the big areas for me is right here because I get creasing in my marionette lines, my smile lines. So I'm just gonna put a little right there. I'm gonna press this on, which is gonna give me more longevity, okay? Now, if you are an oily girl, I recommend before you use a powder to make sure you don't have excess. So I know we utilize this to death, but try the paper towel trick. So if you don't know what that is, that's when you simply take a paper towel and you press it all over the skin, especially with our creams. Like you can tell I don't have excess, but it will kind of absorb any of the excess oil from the makeup that did not absorb. And if your skin is still adjusting to creams, it's crucial. My skin has adjusted. It's been 3 years. So I'm good. And I'm not oily, so I don't really need that trick, but it's a great trick for oily girls. So when it comes to my nose, oh gosh, see, that was way too much powder. I'm gonna flip it over to the other side, kind of remove excess and push it around, and then go back in with the more powder. So I'm gonna stick to my highlighted areas, okay? So I'm just pressing that on. I already did my under eyes, but this powder I actually can use under my under eyes. So if you are fellow mature skin girl like me under there, this one works really well. It's a very expensive high-end powder. It's amazing. So you notice I just did my highlighted areas. What about my contour areas? So if you don't know, we actually do have a bronzer that is a powder. It's called Cayman. Look how light it is. I mean, it's so light. I don't even know if you can see it. I don't recommend it as a bronzer. It's too light even for the fairest girls as a bronzer. But if you like a matte finish, or trying to do something like photography, or you just want your contour to stay put all day, I think of it as a setting powder for your contours. So I use the blush end still, and I'm just gonna put it right over my contours. I feel like it almost intensifies the color a little bit. It helps blend. It really does look amazing set over our contours. So it's gonna kind of set those in place and give you that matte look, so you're not looking shiny in those areas either. And there you go. So I like being matte to a certain point. So this next step is personal preference. You can either use a more natural finish or matte. They call it matte setting spray. I don't feel like they're very matte. They're more natural, so they're not going to give you a dewy look, but they're not going to give you a matte look. Like I know ours is not out right now. Our setting spray will give more of a dewy look. So if I was to spray this on, it's gonna take away some of that powdery finish that I don't like, because I don't wanna be so super matte that I look dry. I just want my makeup to last. So something like Milani Make It Last is gonna give more of that natural finish, and it's going to help take away some of that powderiness without making me look shiny and dewy. Does that make sense? The only thing is that one is heavily perfumed and sometimes makes me gag, and it's got a really fine spray. So it does really help though. And it doesn't give me a dewy look, but it's gonna help take away a little bit of that powder finish. So that's always my key. Like if you like slightly dewy, set or spray last. If you want fully matte, powder last. Okay, so now that we're kind of matte, one of the key areas to illuminate is going to be the illuminator, is going to be our cheekbones. So when it comes to the key places, we want to add a little bit of glow, add a little bit of dewiness. The cheekbones are one place. I feel like naturally I have a little bit there, but you want to intensify it without it being overpowering. So I do not recommend using our powder illuminators. So I don't know if you guys have ever seen them, but our powders are very, very shiny, okay? So that's gonna be almost harsh under lighting. It's gonna reflect way too much light and look way too unnatural. And sometimes if it's not blended well, it can literally look like a streak on your cheekbones. So I recommend sticking with a cream. And our cream illuminators from Maskcara are very natural. Their whole point of them is to give you that lit from within look, which we want to be able to see on camera, but it's not going to be stark, okay? So I recommend sticking with one that is more natural for your skin tone. So it's going to be different for everybody. I find the most universal, most naturals is going to be honey or angel. So honey is more golden and angel is more of a pink undertone. I feel like really anyone can wear either of them. And so I'm just going to swipe in and then I'm just going to press right there. Okay. You'll see how very subtle that is. Just a little bit. Gives your skin a little bit more life. You don't want to be completely matte, okay? So I would probably just do my cheekbones because I don't want my T-zone to look oily or shiny at all. Maybe a little bit on my Cupid's bow because I do want my lips to look bigger. But less is more when it comes to where we illuminate for photos. Okay, let's go ahead and get into lips. So lips is kind of the opposite of the rest of our face. We want to reflect light because it's gonna make your lips look bigger, okay? So the key with your lips is that if you do a nude look like your natural lip color, and you don't line your lips to give definition, they're gonna disappear on camera. So my suggestion is always using something darker than the lip color you're gonna use in order to define your lips. My go-to is Indigo Contour, the multitasker brush to line. And I always recommend kind of following your natural lip line. So as it fades, if it's fading through pictures or something like that, it's not leaving a line around your mouth that looks unnatural. So one of the reasons why I love this color is it almost gives you a natural shadow around your lips that make your lips look bigger as well. Okay, and then once you have it, you can kind of tap to kind of fade that color a little bit. And add more where you need it. Okay, so the next thing is choosing a color. So like I said, you don't want nude lips that are just gonna disappear. You don't want anything lighter. You want something about 2 to 3 shades darker than your natural lip tone. You want something pretty natural looking. A bold lip does look beautiful, but the most universal flattering shades are gonna be something around your lip tone. Something mauve, rose, either with brown undertones. So if you are gonna be smiling and showing your teeth, if you're a coffee drinker like me, you might want to stick to more cool toned colors. So things with blue undertones, because it's gonna make your teeth look whiter. So anything like if you're applying something brown based, it's gonna make your teeth look more yellow. which I don't think anyone wants. This is maybe why I never wear brown lip colors. Anyway, I'm gonna stick with Plum again. I'm gonna apply it more saturatedly. Is that a word? I'm gonna apply it with a multitasker so it goes on darker. And you can have more control. Okay, now this is a matte shade, which is more long wearing, but matte shades can be very dry looking on camera. And since it absorbs light, it's not gonna make your lips look bigger. Okay, so I'm big into layering our shades. So this is a little bit purple for me. Like I wanna brighten it up. I wanna add some gloss. So I want to add gloss to reflect the light, okay? And here is the place where you can add some sparkle if you want. So my Ride or Die glossy put over everything because of the gold sparkle is Sunshine State. And I am going to load up. So this is it's a very sheer color. I know it doesn't look like it in the tin, but it's very sheer. It's just got that gold in it. Can you see that? So I'm gonna load up on my brush and apply that generously. It will alter the shade slightly, but not a whole lot. But you can layer any of the satin shades or glossy shades. Black Cherry would be really pretty over this color. Okay, now I'm happy. We are done with our face. I know that seemed like a lot. So let's move on to eyes. So actually, take that back. Well, this is the eye area. Let's do brows first. I feel like brows are so often overlooked. And when it comes to photography, that is the last place you want to overlook. So I recommend adding definition to your brows. So whether you don't normally fill in your brows on a daily basis, I would at least add a tinted brow gel or something to give a little bit of definition, because brows frame your face. They also can disappear in photos and you don't want that. So I'm gonna use Trust and my angled brush, and I'm going to just follow my natural line and fill in and then blend. Okay, look at the difference. I swear, brows make the biggest difference. If you don't believe me, I will show you a picture of myself from high school. It's so bad. Okay, so next is lashes. So y'all know, if you're new here, you might not know, I am obsessed with Lashify. I've been wearing them for, gosh, probably almost 2 years now, daily. I will post a picture, or I will post a link below showing you the entire process, but lashes are huge. Lashes are the first thing that will disappear in a photograph. So if you are not comfortable with at-home lash extensions like me, or there's a lot on the market nowadays. If you can apply a strip lash or apply just dimmies on the outside corners to give you a little bit more of that lift and that thickness, or even magnetic lashes right now are super popular. Now they have like where you can apply an eyeliner to, attach it, and you can find it anywhere, just any drugstore. They're super popular. So I'd suggest trying them. Getting some practicing is key. Don't wait till the day before or the day of to do them, or you're gonna really stress yourself out. I think I used to do that literally every time. I would only apply lashes when we had photos taken, and I would stress myself out so bad trying to apply them because I wasn't good at it, that I would be a mess and I'd be late and I'd be stressed out before we get started. So practice those. If not, loads of black mascara. Just loads of black mascara. I recommend something you know is not going to smudge or flake on you. Waterproof is always good. Just in case your eyes start watering or something crazy, especially if it's your wedding and you're like me and you cry. Yeah, waterproof is key. So I think we've covered them all. Brows, lashes. Let's do eyeshadow. So color payoff is key when it comes to eyeshadow. So if you have not prepped your eyes, make sure you're priming. If you really want your colors to pop more, use a white primer. I am going to go ahead and just do it based on this, and I will show you guys what I'm doing. So the key is you want to stick with mostly mattes. Again, you don't want to, if you do want to add shimmer, make sure it is nowhere but your lid, okay? We don't want to increase any texture here. We don't want excess light being reflected. We want matte. We want neutral shades. Neutral doesn't mean brown. It doesn't mean it has to be boring, but we want to stick with neutrals. You know, a bright green or purple doesn't always translate best on camera. So I would stick with more neutral colors, but you want to think darker because again, everything's going to tone out. We want definition on the eyes. So think darker, more intense, apply more than you would on a daily basis is key. You'll take a picture and you'll realize how quickly all those colors fade in a photograph compared to real life. So I picked some shades, kind of normal palette, but instead of just browns, I picked some more warm colors, Mama, Lullaby, and Coco. So, you know, mauves are great. They still look very neutral on the eye, but it gives a little bit more interest than just brown. But browns are amazing as well. You guys know me. I love my neutrals. I love my browns. So I am going to go ahead and start with my all-time favorite, which is Bubba. Okay, and the Eyeshadow Everything brush. And we're just going to apply that like I normally do in the crease, right above the crease. Okay, so if you have hooded eyes, you want to see that color. The key with hooded eyes is going up above your natural crease. So if I was to go inside my natural crease, okay, that is my natural crease. When I open my eyes, you can't see it, okay? So key is go above, right above your natural, almost right on that hood. Okay, windshield wiper. You want to stick within that area right there. And a little bit of warmth goes a long way. So this is probably why I love Bubba so much. Gives a little bit of warmth on the eye. And again, what is the key? Blend, blend, blend. Because you will see any harsh lines in the photo that you might have not seen in real life. I can't tell you how many times I've taken a picture and was like, whoa, I need to blend my eyeshadow better. All the time. Okay, so we've got Bubba there. I like to always take Bubba under my eye because when it comes to eyes, we want definition. So if you were to look at this eye on the bottom, you see no definition there. And that you're really gonna see that on camera and it makes my eyes look smaller. So adding a little bit of definition without a harsh liner is a great technique. you just want to blend it. Because again, if you do that and it's still harsh, it's not going to look great on camera. And clean eyeshadow brush to blend. No harsh edges. Another way of blending, if you've already done your face makeup, to use your highlight brush you used and kind of just press along that line to blur it, clean it up. Because we want it no longer than the corner of our brow, okay? Okay, so that was, where'd my brush go? That was Bubba. Now I'm gonna add a little bit of Lullaby because it's darker. It's got a little bit of plum in it, so it's gonna add a little bit more color. And this one I'm gonna stick more in my natural crease, okay, to create a little bit of more depth in my eye, on my eye. You know what I mean? This is what happens when I'm not paying attention. I just go back to my highlight brush because I just got it everywhere. It's okay, it can be fixed. There's nothing that can't be fixed. Okay, and you can even add a little bit of that to the bottom lash line if you want to kind of incorporate that color there. Okay, so we're sticking with mostly mattes. Now I'm going to use my multitasker again. Whoops, that's my lip brush. I have one for my lips and one for my eyes. So multitasker, and I'm gonna use Mama, which is this matte pink. And I'm just gonna press that right on the lid. Okay. Adds a little bit of color, still matte, so it's not gonna create any texture or reflecting. You can do an entire eye look with just mattes and it's gorgeous. I know the shimmers are fun, but mattes are beautiful on all eyes. Okay, so that's Mama. And now I'm gonna get for blend and tap, okay? So here's where we're gonna add that dimension. So for anytime I'm doing pictures, if I really want my eyes to look bigger and more defined, I'm gonna do outer corner depth. Every time it makes the biggest difference in my eyes and most people's eyes to give dimension, okay? So this one's Coco, okay? You could also use your brow color. Mine is Trust, it's pretty as well. So this has a little bit more warmth in it than Trust does. So I'm just gonna tap it right on that outer corner and into my crease slightly in that little triangle formation. And that's it. I'm gonna go a little bit under the eye, okay? And I went a little bit crazy there, but that's okay. We're gonna clean it up once I'm done. Okay, now I know that looks dramatic. Because it is, so I'm gonna flip that brush over, and here's where I'm gonna blur those edges. I like to press, and again, you are meant to go darker than you would on a daily basis. This is not necessarily my kind of daily look for soccer practice, but it could be. Really blur those edges. Okay, or take your clean, I'm losing all my brushes here. A clean eyeshadow everything brush, and I'm going to buff that. Small circles. That brush makes blending so easy. especially if it's clean. You don't want to muddy up your colors. Okay, now I'm gonna go back to my highlight brush and really clean up these edges. So pull that back up, press it out so we don't have any harsh lines. Because if you just kind of pull the highlight, sometimes it will give you too harsh of a line on the outer edge. So press to blur that line. Easy peasy. Okay, so here's where we're gonna get into a little bit of shimmer. So I like to keep my lids matte. You can add a little bit of shimmer. I would suggest not doing anything foiled. If you're gonna do shimmer, do one of the more subdued shimmers that we have, so it's not reflecting too much light and showing too much texture on your lids. But when it comes to adding a little bit of glow to make your eyes pop even more and to lift, I always suggest adding a little bit of brightener right under the brow. The key is you don't want to lighten this entire area, okay? If this is too light, then all of the texture is gonna show here. You wanna use this way. I use the tiny end of the multitasker, and I'm gonna hit right under the arch, just the arch, and then I'm gonna blend with my finger, okay? See how that can kind of like just barely catches the light? That's gonna lift that brow. Too much there, or too much of an intense shade there. So this is Sabrina. It's my go-to. It just is gorgeous on all skin. So pretty. And then I'm gonna use same brush and I'm gonna just brighten that tear duct area. Okay, you see that? You can kind of bring it onto towards the lids slightly, but I like to just concentrate it right there. It's gonna brighten and open up the eye and make it look bigger. Okay, and this brush really lets you pinpoint that. So now that our eyes are almost done, we wanna line. So the biggest thing with liner I see that looks not the best in photos, if it's too harsh of a liner, or if you are lining your entire eye, okay? That's immediately gonna close down the eye and make it look smaller, okay? I don't think anyone wants their eyes to look much smaller, unless you have really large doe eyes and therefore you're lucky. But for the most part, I like to not go all the way to the inside corner. I like to kind of start at the, more like where my lashes do, and think of it more as like, I'm going to thicken my lash line. It's gonna make my lashes look thicker by just adding a little bit of liner. But I don't want a harsh line, so I'll show you how I use two eyeliners, pretty much. So I'm going to define my lash lines with something that's going to stay all day. That is my Kat Von D liquid liner, because this is a really pinpoint precision, and I can make sure I get a very small line close to my lash line. So I'm gonna start right where my lashes start, and I'm just gonna make a thin line with just the tip all the way to where my lashes stop. And then I'm going to look down into my mirror and look at where the bottom of my lash line, the direction it's going. And then I'm going to close and I'm going to create a small wing. And what that does is it just kind of gives you more of that cat eye. It's gonna make your lashes look a little bit thicker because it's gonna look like they continue there, okay? But it's not harsh, and you can still make it look a little bit less harsh. I'll show you. I would call that a very small flick. Not even a wing, a flick. A flick is what I'm calling it. Okay, so that is waterproof, and I know it's gonna stay there all day, so my lashes will always look defined, but I don't want that harsh black liner. And I do not recommend using this on your bottom eye of your eyes at all. It's gonna be way too harsh. So you can even use our Black Friday eyeliner, and kind of smudge it out just for a little bit of definition. I just wanted something a little bit more waterproof and a little closer to my lash line for like the thinnest line possible. I love that very small precision tip. But then I'm going to set that in place and I'm going to make it appear less harsh. So my key with less harsh, don't use black. I know that was black and that really darkened my lash line, but then I always go in with something brown. So my brow color is actually just a deep brown, a cool toned brown. So I love Trust for this very purpose. It's going to take away that harshness, but it's not gonna take away the depth that black already created. And I'm just going to run it along my lash line to make it look more natural. Okay, now this one I'll go in a little bit farther so it kind of fades into my lashes and it looks natural. Okay, so I normally don't line on my bottom lash line. I feel like it does close off my eye, but when I do, I will stick to just the outer corner. If I want like a little bit of definition, I will smudge some right there. So you could even do it here and just apply a little bit right there to kind of darken that up and define it. Another option is using like one of our cream shadows. If you want like a dark, deep brown, Arabian Night would be really pretty. Just smudged on the lower lash line for a little bit more definition, especially if you're a liner girl and you're used to using a liner, but you don't want to close off your eyes. Just use a little bit of shadow to take its place. And I promise you will love that effortless look. So no matter what, I always add mascara to the bottom. This is waterproof. This is my favorite lower lash line mascara, Lash Discovery by Maybelline, because it's got this itty bitty brush and it's waterproof, so I never get smudging or flaking or anything like that. There you have it. If you have any fallout, obviously you can do your eyes first so you don't have to worry about that. I find our eyeshadows do not fall out very often, and if they do, it easily just, I can brush it away. So there you go. Oh, that is the final look for my photography. I will take some pictures and obviously show you guys what that looked like. So I just want to reiterate really quick the main takeaways. So number one, apply in natural light so everything will be true to color and you get the results you want. Number two, blend. Make sure you don't have any harsh lines because that's going to show up more in photography. Number three, flashes are going to wash out colors. So make sure you are amping up and applying more than you normally would by like 2 or 3 notches. I promise you might feel overdone when you walk out the door, but I promise you're gonna love your photos so much more because you're actually gonna be able to see the colors in your makeup. 4, amp up your features by highlighting and contouring so that way you don't look flat in your pictures. You'll be able to see all of your beautiful bone structure and bring attention to your eyes, which is what you want to see in photos, right? And then don't forget to think matte, okay? Stick with mattes. Make sure you're only using that illuminator. So think 3 places, inside corner, above your brow, okay, to lift and brighten. Cheekbones to add a little bit of candlelit glow, and then your lips to make them look bigger, to reflect light, to make them not look dried out, all those things. So otherwise, think matte on the rest of your face and you're gonna love the way your pictures turn out. And last but not least, number 6, trial run. Make sure you've taken photos beforehand. Make sure you've tried your colors, you've tried your powder, you've tried your foundation, no SPF. Make sure you're not getting any weird flashback. and that you can see everything the way you want it to look like. So I hope that helped with all of my doing your makeup for photography. This isn't just for photography. Obviously, you can use that on a daily basis. Thanks again for being here. I love you guys. Bye.